It's time for our review. Yay! Hi. Okay, I'm so tired. Like, so tired. I was up really late last night editing a different video, and then had to get up early this morning because it's my mother's birthday and I had to get up and make her breakfast and stuff. So, I'm so tired. Oh my god, and then we're going out tonight as well. So, But never mind that, because Hannibal. Fuck. So this is a review for Hannibal Series 3, Episode 3, Secondo. Directed by Vincenzo Natali and written by Angelina Burnett, Steve Lightfoot and Bryan Fuller. Okay, so firstly, the opening scene of this episode was just wow. Firstly, I love the very first shot is just like Bedelia pouring wine very dramatically, because Bedelia's just drunk all the time. And if I was that pretty and that rich and I was hanging out with a serial killer, I think I'd be drunk all the time too, so I can relate to that. Like, I was really hoping that the first scene of this episode would be a continuation of the last scene of the last episode, but we didn't get that, which is kind of upsetting, but it also sort of means, like, we didn't really miss anything, like, nothing happened. Clearly, Hannibal didn't go and talk to him. He just slunk away in the shadows, like a little slinky thing. So he's at home now, with Bedelia, pining. So Bedelia is drinking her wine, and Hannibal is sitting there all forlorn, like, oh, he knew where to find me. And Bedelia's like, well, yeah, but, you know, you knew where he would look for you, so you went there. You want him to find you. You put yourself in a place where you knew he would find you. So it's not quite as romantic as you think it is. And he's like, no, it is, it's very romantic. So Bedelia says to Hannibal what Bryan Fuller has been saying to the fans for ages now. Hannibal is about to get caught. Bedelia knows it. Hannibal knows it. He is on the brink of getting caught. And he's bringing that on himself, like he's making that happen. He's not trying to hide his actions anymore. He's drawing everybody to him. Will and Jack and everyone, he's bringing them to him. But as Bedelia is talking to him, she makes it very plain that she does have a plan, and that when Hannibal gets caught, she has no intentions of going down with him. She knows exactly what she's going to do to get out of it, which, like, she just straight up says to him, and it's like, yeah. Yes, thank you. Hannibal tells Bedelia that Will said he forgave him, and Bedelia's like, well, you know, forgiveness takes two people, it's not a one-sided thing. Do you forgive him? Or, you know, should you forgive him? Because are you the betrayer or are you the betrayee? And he's like, I don't really know. And that's just, like, none of us know. They've both fucked each other over, and they've both been fucked over by the other. And it's just like, this is just a very complicated relationship. But you can't control who you love, as Hannibal himself said. He actually said it. He said it, well, I mean, I'm paraphrasing because he said it in a, you know, far more eloquent way. But you can't control who you love. You can't do it. And more, this series is about that. Like, if Will had a choice, he wouldn't love Hannibal. He in no way would ever choose to love Hannibal. And Hannibal would never choose to love anybody. So the fact that these two men love each other, and they're so just don't want to, and it just makes everything worse and more complicated and awful. It's so well written. It's so good. It's so toxic and awful and like heartbreaking and So then we find Will in Lithuania, in Hannibal's childhood home, the one place where Hannibal can never go because it's too traumatic, and he lived there before he was formed, before he's the person that he is now, the person that he's very proud to be, you know, the really strong, cool, sophisticated, intelligent, sociopathic serial killer cannibal that he's very proud to be. This was where he was broken and moulded into that, and you know, he can't be near there. I think he would crumble. And while Will's stumbling around the ruins of the old house and the little graveyard, there's a big like castle and estates, and Will's stumbling around in there, and he goes through the graveyard, and we see Will walk past a grave. I can't exactly make out the first name. It's Electra Grave. I can't make out what the first name is. I'm assuming it's Misha, like it's his sister's grave, although she got eaten, so I don't know what would be in her grave. On the grave is a bird of paradise. Not the actual bird, but the flower. And my friend Helena pointed this out to me because I didn't notice it because I'm unobservant, but she sent me the symbolism of that particular flower. It symbolises joyfulness, also magnificence. Can also be used to indicate exciting and wonderful anticipation. It's all very Hannibal. Very, very Hannibal. You know, because he's so well dressed, and he carries himself, you know, with such elegance, and he's constantly putting on courtship displays for Will. I mean, he made him an origami heart out of a person, and at the end of this episode, Will made him a death sculpture. It's all just like, why? I'm not saying that the symbolism of that necessarily was intended, but thank you, Helena, for pointing that out. We get a little hallucination scene where Will and Hannibal are sitting in their therapy chairs, but they're out in the woods, and they're talking about Hannibal's mind palace and where his childhood home is in it, and where the Hannibal's old office is in it, and it, like, the significance of all the places in his mind palace, and memories and stuff. And Hannibal says that in his memories he doesn't hear the screams of his victims, he only hears music, which is what we hear as an audience when someone's getting killed. Like, more often than not, we don't hear the actual killing, we just hear beautiful music and see beautiful images of grotesque things happening, which sort of made me think, like, is the entire series just Hannibal's memories? Like, is he in jail right now, just living in his mind palace and reliving everything? And is that why everything's so heightened and stylized and elegant? And is that why, like, the whole world seems to revolve around him? Is that why none of the money things make any sense? And is that why Will is so besotted with him? Because Hannibal is remembering Will as being in love with him when he wasn't necessarily. And then I made myself sad, because anyway, then we get to meet Jill, who is really cool. I really like her. But from the promo last week, I just assumed that she was going to end up being the girl that Will ends up marrying in 3 years' time. I think her name's going to be Molly. So for some reason I just assumed that this was going to be her. I don't think she is. I mean, maybe she is. Maybe she's going to change her name to Molly and marry Will. That would be weird, though. Given the way they interact in this episode, that would be odd. So, I don't think so. Maybe. It's so hard. You can't tell with this show. Literally anything could happen, and it would make sense. Like, retrospectively, it would make sense. Which is so weird. Like, how... So well written. Just like, I have no idea what's happening. What has happened. What is going to happen. I don't know. I love it, but I don't know. So, Jill is really badass, you know, she hunts birds in the woods and she keeps a guy in a cage in the dungeon. And, you know, fair enough, the guy deserves to be there. At least in her mind, he deserves to be there. We don't actually know who that guy is, because he doesn't speak any English, he's only speaking Lithuanian. So we don't know for sure who that guy is. Like, it's not made clear in the episode. In this week's post-mortem, which are the little, after shows that they do on YouTube, and you should check them out, they're really cool. But this week Mads was on it, and he said, which is not something that's stated in the episode, but we must find it out later, or maybe it's just what Hannibal thinks happened, or maybe Bryan Fuller just told Mads something so he could have an idea in his head, but it's not what actually happened. I don't know. But anyway, what Mads said was that what happened to Misha was that, or is it Mila? What's his sister's name? It sounds like Misha, but maybe it's Mila. I don't know. So he says that she got killed by just some random dude. Hannibal was on the farm, and he comes across just this random farmhand molesting her and killing her, and by the time he gets there she's already dead and it's too late. And then at some point Hannibal and perhaps his uncle ate her. They didn't kill her, but they ate her. So then who is in her grave? I don't know. So we don't know if the guy in the cage is the guy that did that, or if he's Hannibal's uncle, or if he's just a random dude that Hannibal wanted to torture, because actually Hannibal's the one that killed his sister. We don't know, because we don't hear any of this from him. We hear the stories he's told to Jill. Because basically, I don't know what Jill's connection to Hannibal is either. Because clearly she was there and knew him somehow, and he was like, hey, I'm about to kill this dude, and she's like, no, don't do that, why would you do that? And he's like, oh no, it's cool, he like raped and murdered my sister. And she's like, well, okay, that's really bad, but don't kill him, give him to me and I will keep him in this cage. And he's like, yeah, cool, let's do that. So, but why did she have that? Was she like his younger version of Bedelia? Like, what? I don't understand what their relationship was, or why they knew each other, or what was going on. But the long and the short of it is that Jill got left with a dude, and she didn't know what to do with him. She's like, oh, I'm just going to torture you and keep you in this cage and never ever speak to you or give you any human contact. I'll feed you, I'll keep you alive, but you'll only hear the sound of water. And Will's like, that's really fucked up. You wouldn't, like, you're treating him like an animal. And she's like, no, I wouldn't treat an animal this way. Because, you know, animals have value and animals are nice. And as far as Jill knows, this is a monster. Like, as far as we know, he's a terrible, awful monster of a man and deserved to be locked up all that time. But that could have just been something that Hannibal told her. It's like, what? I need to know what the truth is. Oh. So Jill and Will have a little tea party. They're drinking their tea. She tells Will the story that Hannibal told her, which we don't really get to hear, we just hear the tail end of it. So I assume that story's being kept for later and we'll go into it in detail. We better fucking go into it in detail. I need to know what happened. And Jill says, all sorrow can be born if you put it into a story. Which kind of ties into, like, my random little thought, like, is all of this just Hannibal's memory? Did terrible things happen to Hannibal? Well, obviously, like, terrible things have happened to Hannibal and he has done even worse things. But has he, to cope with that, put it all into a story, and that's the story we're seeing now? It's all, like, is it that meta? I don't know. But, I don't know. I'm so confused. Like, I'm confused in the best possible way, but I'm really, really confused after this episode. So, Will decides, let the dude go. And at first you think, oh, he just doesn't want this dude being tortured anymore, so he lets him go. But if he really wanted to just help the guy, he would drive him away somewhere safe. But he doesn't. He just brings him out into the woods and lets him go. So the guy goes back into the castle and hides in the cage, and then when Jill comes to feed him, he like bursts out like, hey, fuck you, tries to kill her. She ends up killing him. Will comes in, he's like, oh, look what happened. And Jill says, you freed him. And Will's like, well, no, I was trying to free you from the prison of having to keep him prisoner. And she's like, no, I mean, you said Hannibal was curious as to whether I'd kill him or not. You were fucking curious as to whether I'd kill him or not. You and Hannibal are the same. This is freaking me out. And I think much in the same way that Bedelia follows after Hannibal, after all the shit has gone down and everything horrific has happened, and she's just like, I really don't know what to do in this situation. I'm just gonna go with you, and I'll figure it out on the way. I think Jill is very much doing the same thing. Like, she's looked at what Will's done and how calculating he's been, and she's like, oh, I really don't know how to handle this situation. I think I'm just gonna stick with you until I can find a way to not be near you anymore. So she goes to leave, and Will's like, yeah, I'll do one thing first, and makes a death sculpture of a dragonfly out of the dude's corpse, and there's all these big glass wings made out of wine bottles, and he hoists it up and he ties it off, and then he leaves. I don't know if that's intended for Hannibal or if it's just intended as a way of doing something for Hannibal, even though he knows Hannibal will never see it. I don't know if he thinks Hannibal's ever going to see it or not. I don't think Hannibal will ever see it or know about it because, like, he's never going to go back there. Or at least he said he's never going to go back there. Maybe he will. So I don't know what that was in aid of, but he made his boyfriend a death sculpture. Just like Hannibal made him one. So fucked up. This show is so fucked up. So while all of that is happening and Will's in Lithuania, Hannibal is having a series of dinner parties. The first one is with the dick from the first episode who's all like, you're not even Italian, how can you teach about the whatever it is? They have him over to dinner, and Hannibal makes him a death cocktail, which is the cocktail that the first class passengers on the Titanic drank on the night that it sank. And you can see the minute he puts those cocktails out, Bedelia's just like, you're gonna fucking kill him, aren't you? We can't have one dinner when you don't murder someone. So they're chatting away, and the dick is, not even being that much of a dick. He's just kind of talking, and I was just like, I'm just gonna shove this knife into your head. And Bedelia's just, dude, you didn't even wait until we'd finished dinner. Just mid-sentence, stabbed a dude in the head. And then Hannibal sits down and says, that may have been impulsive. Yeah, that may have been impulsive. Jesus Christ, Hannibal, like, what are you even doing? He is an impatient, impulsive child. He is. He is a tall, murderous, cannibal child. But then, of course, the dick guy, not technically dead. I mean, he's got a knife in his brain, and it's fucking him up, but he's not actually dead yet, and his brain is just, like, going mental, and he's repeating all these phrases and stuttering and kind of shaking. And Bedelia's had enough, so she goes over, and she pulls the knife out of his head. And then he falls down dead. And Hannibal's like, you see, technically, you killed him. Which is true, and she just, like, kind of glares at him like, fuck you even doing? But she's very careful to pick up her napkin, wrap it round her hand before she pulls out that knife. She is not leaving prints anywhere, because Bedelia is a smart lady, and she has said, and she intends not to go down with Hannibal. Hannibal is getting caught. Bedelia is going to walk away scot-free, and it's going to be glorious. Like, she deserves to at this point, just cause she's clever. Like. And it's at this point that she accuses Hannibal of wanting to draw everyone to him. Not just Will, but everyone. And then, of course, cut to a man in a hat walking through a church, and he's just in silhouette. And who is he? Of course, it's Jack Crawford. Lawrence Fishburne is such an amazing actor and such a recognisable actor. You can literally recognise the silhouette of the back of his head whilst he's wearing a hat. And Jack Crawford and Ronaldo Pazzi just, like, chilling out, talking about being cops and the case and stuff. Can they just be friends? Can they just become a crime-fighting team, please? That would be amazing. That would be so cool. In fact, Ronaldo actually suggests that they do, and Jack Crawford's like, I'm not here for the monster. I'm here for Will. Which sounds good on the surface, because yes, please, somebody help Will. But also, like, there for him in what sense? Is he there to help Will? Is he there to catch Will? Is he there to stop Will going after Hannibal? I don't know. I'm vaguely concerned. And Jack says Hannibal will strike again, but his needs don't force him to strike often, which I think was the case, and which is why he didn't get caught for so many years. But now Will is here, and he's fucked him all up, and he's causing him to get himself caught, to strike more and more and more often, to draw all these people out and to him, and to expose himself. Like, Will Graham has fucked it all up for him, basically. And now he's just like, you know what, fucking catch me. So he will strike again, and he'll strike publicly and deliberately, because Hannibal now wants to get caught. Not necessarily wants to get caught, but wants to bring all the people back to him. And then whatever happens will happen. And then we just get the second dinner scene, which is basically Hannibal feeding the previous guy that he just stabbed in the head to this quite pleasant couple from the university, and just having a jolly old time and being very jovial. And Bedelia's just sitting there like, the fuck even is this? She's so done with everything. I love Bedelia, but she's just like sitting in the corner eating her oysters because Hannibal wants her to taste good. She's just sitting there eating her oysters, and and this couple is just like ravenously eating the other guy, and Hannibal's just like, yeah, this is great. I'm so glad I'm making people be a cannibal. And he's having a lovely time. And then you get the scene in the bath, which is just so wonderful because it really demonstrates exactly what Hannibal and Bedelia's dynamic is. Like, for all intents and purposes, Bedelia should be the vulnerable one in that scene. She's naked, she's in the bath, Hannibal is fully clothed and looming over her and holding her head. Bedelia has all the power in that scene. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's put him in a situation where he feels like he's in charge, and by doing that, he's letting his guard down, and she can, you know, probe him with questions. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she knows him so well, and she knows exactly how to get the truth out of him. And I don't know if he's even realised the extent of the power that she has over him yet, but fuck. Like, he knows that she's trying to manipulate him, but I don't think he knows the full extent of it, and it's just so good. And then after that, you know, Will makes the death sculpture, all that. We cut back to Hannibal and Bedelia. Hannibal's playing the piano, and it's all very civilised. And he's just off in his own little world, trying to just ignore everything, and Bedelia's like, you have to deal with the shit that's going on. Shit is going on. You need to deal. He's like, yeah, I will. It's fine. Again, we don't know what happened with Hannibal and his sister. Clearly, Bedelia knows. Whether he's told her or whether she's found out, or whether she thinks she knows the truth, but she only knows Hannibal's version of the story, we don't know. We don't know what she knows. We don't know how she knows it. But we know she knows something about Hannibal and his sister. And she says that Hannibal forgave his sister after he ate her. And if past behaviour is any indication of future behaviour, the only way he's going to forgive Will Graham is if he eats him. Of course it is. Of course it is. I really liked this episode. It was really well written and well paced and everything. I really, really loved it. I do have a complaint, and it's not really a complaint about this episode as it is a complaint about the whole season. It's really difficult to watch it during the daytime because the show is shot so darkly, and it looks beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's amazing. I'm not against the darkness of it, but it's so dark that if you do watch it in the daylight and there's even the tiniest little bit of a reflection or shine or something on the screen, you can't see a fucking thing. You have no idea what's going on, and it's really frustrating. So next week we get Alana and we get Margot and Mason as well, trying to arrange for Hannibal to be eaten alive. Which, like, dude. I said last week that I thought Alana was going to be the one walking through the door instead of instead of Abigail, because Abigail was imaginary. But now, clearly, it's clear that Alana's in a wheelchair, she can't walk, because she got thrown out of that window. So maybe I was right in the first place. Maybe it was Margot walking in. That could be cool. That would be very cool. I love Margot. I love her so much. I love her so much. I'm so excited for next week. I'm really tired. And my camera battery is dying. And so this was much less organised and much less energy than last week. But don't let that fool you, because I really, really did like this episode. It was really good. I have to go. Hannibal.